Hey guys, welcome to Monday Mindset Mojo. It is so good to see you guys here today. Thank you for being here. And we're going to have a power packed hour, high octane conversation with a couple of friends of mine, Nate and Waylon. Nate is on X, and his username will be there for you guys to look up. Waylon is on X too. And I love seeing those guys in the Mindset Masterclass. You guys check that out. We're going to have a live discussion. So if you have questions and comments, put those in the chat. I'll drag those on to the screen. And I just look forward to a power packed hour full of great conversation, crowdsourcing some wisdom. And hey, guys, welcome, Waylon, the indoor farmer, and the actual real Nate Norman. I was telling these guys they just really love their backdrops. I'm always amazed at the backdrops of people. It kind of lets you know a little bit about their life and what they're into. You can tell what I'm into looking over my shoulder. By the way, I had two people criticizing my graphic,
I
saying
saw that.
it was that AI generated crap. And I said, here's the thing. I could pay somebody $47 to make, an artist to make me a really cool graphic, or I could buy more coffee. Let me tell you, the coffee wins. The coffee wins. And that's my thing right behind me. I've got a nice cup right here, so I encourage all you guys listening to grab your own cup of coffee. I just had 2 cups of coffee, so I'm drinking apple spice tea. And Waylon's got louder from Crowder. Louder, what's that say?
Louder with Crowder.
Oh, Louder with Crowder.
Mug Club.
The Mug Club. Tell us about Louder with Crowder. What's that about?
He's another, I guess, podcaster. He does a lot of. They do some like undercover work, all kinds of stuff. He kind of does a late night comedy talk show, but it's more political.
Ah, okay. Well, we don't mind to get political. We're going to get political about mindset, political about farming, the indoor farmer. Waylon's going to tell us what that's all about. Nate's going to tell us what all of that safari stuff is about with that animal neck. I can see the neck. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I guess we'd rather see your head than the deer head. My son's got about 8 of those hanging in his bedroom. Big hunter with his pawpaw. Hey there, Edison. Good to see you here. Edison, a faithful member of the Mindset Masterclass. He does help me out with some graphics, but he does a better job than I do. But thank you guys for being here. Let's hop over to Waylon. Waylon, tell us a bit about your account, your platform, what you like to focus on.
Sure. First, I'll say that I don't mind the graphic. It's there's only like one little tiny thing that you might change, and heck, that's most AI stuff that you see people post anyway. I mean, I thought it was fine. I wanted to say something to them, but I didn't. I was like, nah, it's not worth it. Not worth the mindset change. But what I do is I try to, and actually, what I do is a lot about mindset because I don't have like extensive knowledge on growing. I'm trying to learn it. I'm doing it by, hard knocks, just putting my hands in and seeing what happens and, trying to learn by being around the topic or being around the stuff as much as possible. And, a few years go by and suddenly, oh, you're actually pretty knowledgeable at that point. It's kind of a learn by doing. But the mindset, I think, that most Americans have, and people, I guess, across the more developed nations, they think a lot of times that the cliches, food comes from the grocery store and all these cliches. And so I thought, why not create a better mindset around the stuff that we actually need, the stuff that we deal with on a daily basis. We have to eat. Everybody has to eat. So let's make it part of our everyday thoughts.
So indoor farming, I was first acquainted with indoor farming during my time of the long-term care industry. And it was really such an amazing thing to see people of that age group. They were 70s, 80s, 90s. We had a couple of centenarians who it really changed their life when you gave them something to do that was productive, that they could pour their heart and life into. And so we
Mm-hmm.
had these raised gardening beds. And by the way, this is back in the early 90s. And man, talk about a mindset shift from people just laying around thinking that they could do nothing when everybody can grow something. Everybody can, harvest or develop their own little Garden of Eden. And so, how did you get into indoor farming?
So I actually went through. I'll try to keep it short, but I actually went through a pretty tough time after I came home from Iraq for about 10 years. Went through we'll just say a dark time. And when I did some research on like what other veterans were doing, and turns out that a lot of veterans become farmers. There's a few reasons for that. I mean, they don't have a boss looking over their shoulder. There's nobody telling them what to do next. You get to do something with your own hands. You don't have to work with so many people. Sometimes that's an issue for veterans. So I looked into farming, and then I had a friend of mine that was doing something called aquaponics, using the fish water to feed the plants. And I thought, man, that makes a lot of sense when you talk about all different types of farming. Why wouldn't you want to get meat out of it somehow too? I mean, fish, meat, whatever you want to call it, but protein, right? I was like, well, why not try to do that? And so I thought, let me just do this, and then I could be inside. I could be like a laboratory. I thought Dexter's Laboratory meets the Rainforest Cafe. Let's go. I thought one thing. I want to farm at table height, and I don't want to farm in dirt. I don't want to be down on my knees in the soil. But guess what I'm doing right now? I have soil down there on the floor, and I'm still doing all the things I told myself I wasn't going to do. But getting into it makes it opened my mind to everything. I plan to have outside facilities too, but I think indoor farming is a good supplement to a lot of things. Food scarcity, food deserts, places that you can't grow food naturally that we could grow indoors, countries out there that have to rely on other countries for their food because they don't have outdoor farmland. Places that need it. I mean, you may not be able to fully replace our nutrient levels by growing everything inside. Like that might not ever be a thing, but it could be a heck of a supplement, and I think we need it for so many different things. But I'll end it there.
That's
But yeah,
amazing. That's amazing. And I'm going to come back to that here in a bit. Just say, I'll tell you a funny story. I remember I was at FFA camp, Future Farmers of America camp, and the guy presenting was from, I don't know, the local co-op or something like that. And he told the story of a kid. He asked the kids where chocolate milk came from, and their answer was Walmart. You know? That's right. All your chocolate milk is from the udders of Walmart. Utterly Walmart. Well, Nate, tell us
chocolate
about your
cow.
platform. Yeah, go ahead, Waylon. You had something to go with that.
It's a chocolate cow. I was gonna say that comes
It
from a
comes from
chocolate cow,
chocolate
doesn't
cows,
it?
man. Walmart's chocolate cows. They got a whole herd of them. But Nate, tell us about what you do. What you like to focus on. You're like the great bow hunter.
Well, guys, thank you for having me. Waylon, you're going to have to give me some instructions, man. I'm less nurturing than a desert. I can't keep a cactus alive in the house. So you're going to have to give me some instructions after this call is done. But guys, I focus on men's development, men's health, and men's habits. And what it was for me was a time in my life, kind of like Waylon was talking about, where there was just a dark period. I call this man the gray man, and akin to the guys coming back from Vietnam, where they had that 1,000-yard stare in their eyes. They were there, but they weren't there. They're going through the motions, and they're at the parties, but they're not at the parties. They're with their kids, but they're not with their kids. And that was kind of me. So through the process of developing my habits and figuring out what I could do on a daily basis to make myself the best version of me, I developed a set of habits, and now I just share that with people, how to own their life, how to win the morning, how to win the day, how to stay positive and rock and roll as a man on the face of this earth today.
I love that, Nate. And what is so fascinating about that are all the people that are stuck in the mindset that it is what it is. It can't be anything different. I've got what I've got. Nothing's going to change. By the way, in my field of cognitive psychology, I call that unholy trinity, the unholy trinity of cognitive distortions because it's fortune telling, mind reading, catastrophizing. You think that you already know what the future's going to hold. It's going to be bad, and you know what everybody thinks about you, and that's going to be bad too. But I just love your energy there and your positive forward focus, and But tell us about. Oh my goodness, you've got. Is that a turkey? That's a turkey tail mount on your wall there, right? I just now noticed that.
Absolutely. Yes.
Man,
Love the
I
turkey
don't.
hunt. I got
What's
the calls ready. I'm ready to go out there purring like a hen who's ready to call in that man. He's coming in bowed up and I'm gonna stick an arrow through his chest. I can't wait.
you're getting ready for Thanksgiving and it's only February. That's
I can't
amazing.
wait.
My son got a turkey. I would move the camera around, but I've got all my wires connected. But this really blew my mind. A little bit of trivia for people that don't know about this stuff. Uh, if there's a field that I don't know, I do psychology and I don't really understand it, but a field that is booming, at least where we are, is taxidermy. I
Mm.
have never seen a taxidermist, somebody that does these mounts behind Nate's camera, that is not covered up with work, that turns customers' way and makes easily, I mean, easily more money than I do. Because this turkey mount, which is the full body mount with the turkey in flight, man, that was a fortune. Thankfully, my son's pawpaw paid for it. But it took, I kid you not, from start to finish, it took us 14 months to get it. That's how long we waited for this. Can you
Wow.
imagine having a business where a customer is willing to wait for over a year to get the? I mean, you can build a mansion. I grew up building houses with my dad. We could build a mansion in 90 to 120 days, but a freaking full turkey mount, yeah, over a year. It's crazy. Is that the same thing as where you are, Nate?
That's true, Dr. Heath. Now, listen, if you're a millennial listening to this and you're thinking, what am I going to do with my life? Listen, go into a trade, take up taxidermy, do something that's going to benefit this world because there will be job security for years to come, right? Be a plumber, be an electrician, be a taxidermist, man. Do something like that because you will make money, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. In my area, well, my brother. I was talking to my brother, and he said that he called this plumber. I think he said something like 27 times before he finally got back with him. He said, and he's a good friend of mine. It is just incredible that you can't find people in skilled trade around here, and I think it's that way everywhere. I think the economy is about to boom and everything. I think there's a great reason to be optimistic, not a Debbie Downer. No offense to all the Debbies out there, but not to be a Debbie Downer. So I love what you're saying there, Nate. And tell us about your marksmanship with a bow. My dad taught archery. My son was an archery champion in high school,
Yep.
and then he taught archery. So I'm pretty biased and pretty supportive of those archers out there. By the way, I'll tell you guys a funny story that is a archery story about a hand signal that you see a lot of. But tell us about your archery skills there, Nate. How good are you
Well,
really?
I love archery, man. And it's very therapeutic for me. It's a zen practice. You're able to go out into the backyard and you're able to fire off shots and go through the motions and bringing that peep sight to your face and that kisser button and just going through those repetitive steps. And it's part of the habit process of a male. I believe that a man or woman should have something that they put their hands on a daily basis that makes them a little bit better. And archery is that for me. It's just very therapeutic for me. And so if it's not archery, that's fine. Maybe it's walking, or maybe it's running, or maybe it's lifting weights, or maybe it's blogging or writing. There has to be something that you do to vent out, or you'll explode, right? If we internalize all of the things in this world without venting the pop-off valve, you're just going to explode. You're going to explode on your kids, your family, your wife, your coworkers, your friends, and you're going to be a time bomb, and you're not going to be a blessing to be around. So for me, archery has become something that is very therapeutic, and it's a great habit of mine. And I love getting in the woods. I love seeing that white-tailed deer walk by. And I actually just wrote a book entitled A Bow of Bronze, and it's about the 8 arrows of masculinity and
Oh,
what I believe a man ought to do on a daily basis. And these different arrows that you would grab in your life, like integrity or honesty or balance or stewardship or vision or friendship. There's these different things that we need to put in our quivers to be
mm,
the best equipped versions of ourselves. And so archery has tied into every area of my life, and something I love to do, man.
man, that's awesome. Type the. Did you say the book is out? It's published.
It came out February 9th. It just released. It's #1 on men's health on Amazon.com right now. I'm super excited about
Whoa.
it. It's doing really well, and I'm blessed, man. It's been an awesome journey.
How long did it take you to write that?
It was 2 years in the process, Dr. Heath, and I tell you, during this process, one of those tenets, one of those arrows that I believe a man ought to have is physicality, right? He ought to be a strong man. You ought to be lifting weights or running or walking at any stage of life. There's something that you can do physically to make yourself better. And it's crazy because during the writing of this book, I went down with a back injury. I was running a 26 a relay race with some friends, and I was on mile 20, 26, and I just started running forward. My back started locking up. I thought it was a leg injury. Fast forward, I ended up getting back surgery, L5, S1,
Oh.
getting that thing taken care of, went down for the count. So I'm writing this book about a man being strong, and I can't do any of it, right? I can't run, I can't squat, I can't deadlift, I can't bench press, and I was broken. It felt like my identity was being shattered, right? And so throughout the process of writing this book, I had to reshape what it means to be a physical man when you couldn't. And I was really able to tap into some empathy for the guys out there who have been injured, who can't do what they used to do, who have sustained something in their life that prohibits them from being physically active like they want to be. So I had to really reshape my mind on what can I do? What can I do when I can't do what I want to do? And that was a huge hack for me writing this book. So through struggles and depression and darkness and identity shifts, this book came out, and it was such a blessing for me.
Man, that is just so amazing. You know, it reminds me of my dad. My dad was working for a big construction company, and he walked over an area that was supposed to be taped off. It wasn't taped off, which is why he was walking over it. And he fell, and he crushed 4 vertebrae.
Oh,
He crushed his left hand. He was in traction in a hospital bed in our home. My girlfriend at the time was sweet enough. She would come by while I was in college and cook for him and everything. I finally married her because of that. Many reasons, but that was one, you know. But what did my dad do? He moved by inches until those inches became feet, the feet became yards, and the yards became miles. And so, success in life really isn't about accomplishment any more than it's about the harvest. It's about what you plant, it's about how much you push. And so, Dad just kept on pushing, you know. And so, I'm not in charge of the harvest, I'm not in charge of accomplishment. All I can do is keep on pushing. And when you get up every day, find ways to push. You know, you guys that follow me, you know some of these things I talk about. The first thing I do is something. The worst thing that you can do in the morning is nothing. And that's what people do. They get up and they think they can make an accomplishment and do nothing but sitting around. There are a few accomplishments you're going to make being stationary. And so, by all means, move, move, move. And so, after a time, Dad worked his way out to his truck. And there are still stories told in the hills of Arkansas, the dark hills and holes of hollows of Arkansas. And that is of my dad, Robert Meeks, who, after that severe back injury, got up out of his bed within, I think it was 8 weeks, scooting, shuffling, finally walking, and driving around doing what he could. And unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, it depends on how you look at it, he died doing what he loved doing, which was building houses. He died on the work site building houses. He was
wow.
right at 65 years old, 64, about to turn 65, which I don't think I'd be doing this, but Dad was. But then again, he was also 101st Airborne, and so he jumped out of perfectly good airplanes for a living. And then crazy thing, became a skydiver. And but Dad was all about the push, man. He was all about keeping moving, keeping moving, keeping moving. And to let you know how deep that went, that was what helped him survive when he lost his wife, my mother, when I was 4 years old, when he lost his home that he built for us when I was 8 years, I think 7 or 8 years old, and moved to Arkansas. in a house that had no electricity, no plumbing, but we did have a pretty nice outhouse. Thank goodness for that. Though you guys that don't know what an outhouse with is, I'll let you Google that. So it's all about the push. It's not about the accomplishment. Two people get so sidetracked over, oh, but I tried this and I didn't accomplish something. I tried that and I didn't accomplish something. That's the wrong focus. Focus on your next step, man. Focus on your next step. Focus on the next pull of the bow. And so that's the reason I had you guys on, because you guys push. Waylon here does a live stream 5 nights a week. Is that right, Waylon?
5 different shows a week. Yeah.
Wow. How long are those shows?
I usually leave about a 2-hour block of time. Sunday usually goes a little later. Yeah, about 2 hours.
So about 10 hours a week. Now, if that's not pushing, I don't know what is. And I know this is rhetorical, but do you always have a perfect plan? And does that perfect plan always result in a perfect outcome for all your shows?
I find that being live has different merits to it than pre-recording. And when you go live, partly the reason that people want to watch that is because they're seeing the real moment to moment, reaction of you, like whether or not you say the right thing exactly, or just like have a few minutes to recover, like, well, that was wrong because of this, and you kind of just pontificate and open up on it, versus a pre-recorded video where they're just going to edit that part out, they're just going to re-say what they need to say. And so I think it's just more genuine. And so not having a plan is not the answer, but having at least an outline, having some kind of an idea of what you're planning to do. So like each show for me has a different reason for doing it, and beyond whether or not anybody watches it. So like I have my personal goal for that show because I get something out of it, and whether that's learning or some other thing, but I make sure I do that. And if I fulfill my goal to myself, then the rest of the show is it should be easy, right? I have technical problems all the time, but that's the other thing, is that you could have a perfect plan, and almost every time you're going to have some kind of technical snafu. It just never end. Never.
Real life loves a perfect plan, because life loves disassembly. It loves taking things apart. That's why you see supernovas, and you see suns collide, and you see asteroids collide. Life loves disassembling things, but that shouldn't stop us from putting them together. That's what we're here to do. Putting things together in your life is the act of creation. And no offense to anybody, have your own belief system, but I'm a believer. I believe in the Creator, and so I think, created in the Creator's image, it is my job to create something. And I get out of bed every day. This morning, and no, you don't got to get up when I get up, but this morning was 4:15, and so I get up every day looking to create something. Every day, what am I going to create today? It's almost the Phineas and Ferb mindset. What are we going to do today? My son loved watching Phineas and Ferb as a kid. What are we going to do today? And some people just don't have an answer to that question, and then most of the other folks never even ask that question. So if there's only one thing you get out of this live stream, folks, get that question. Wake up asking, what am I going to do today? And here's how you can supercharge that. Ask it before you go to sleep at night. Go to sleep with that in your head. What am I going to do tomorrow? What am I going to do tomorrow? What am I going to do tomorrow morning? And write it down. What am I going to do tomorrow morning? It is the closest that you can get to the one of my favorite movies, Inception, is to implant that thought in your head, because your brain works on that problem all day long. Some people on X do spaces. A lot of people do live streams. I see people struggling with creativity, struggling with what to do, struggling with content. Honestly, that's not the struggle. The struggle is the old adage, what's in the well comes up in the bucket. And so if you're not, putting things in the bucket, then nothing's going to come up. But the other thing is, a lot of people just don't have a bucket. And the bucket is that question, what am I going to do with my life? As a kid, one of my favorite songs was from Twisted Sister. I should play this. I should have queued it up, but I just thought of it, where the kid is rocking out in his bedroom upstairs, and the dad comes up and says, "What are you gonna do with your life?" And the kid says, "Of course, I'm gonna rock." So other than rocking, guys, what are you gonna do with your life? I put up a post today. You can look at it on my feed, and it says this. It says time, or no, it says your time question mark, and then in bold your time, and then with three question marks your time. See, we don't have a thing called my time. Too many people are looking for my time. There is no my time. Whatever you call your time is not your time. This time has been given to you. It is a gift to you. It is not yours. And so what are you investing it in? And if you don't do that, if you're not aware of that, you'll make it to the end of your life not doing what Nate did, writing a book, working on his own mindset, working on his marksmanship skills, what Waylon does, improving the planet, improving his mindset, cultivating something both physically, mentally, spiritually by all the work he does. And you look at your life and you realize what a grand waste of time it was. But, sorry to get on that philosophical soapbox, guys, but I do get on a roll. My son says to me often, Dad, you do go on and on and on. I think you may have a point. But speaking of that, guys, what would you say is currently one or two maybe of your greatest struggles in life, greatest mental or mindset struggles? Either one of you go first. And but while you're thinking, those of you listening, thank you for being here. We've got about 100 people watching us at least through different portals. I'm not sure how many different streams. We're streaming to LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and YouTube, and into my Mindset Masterclass. So I don't think it tracks all of those simultaneously, but we really appreciate you being here. And if you have a question for these guys, put that in the chat. I'm going to pull that onto the stage. Edison says, good to see you. Nino, good friend Gaetano, says, good morning. Let's go. Let's go, Gaetano. Lady Wings, her slogan is love works. I agree. Nino says, loving this. Thank you guys for sharing your stories. I appreciate that, Nino. We love sharing these stories. And your son, good to see you here today. Great perspective. It's not my time. I'm responsible for it. Exactly. It's really the parable of the talents, where one guy poorly invested it, one guy buried it, and the other guy went and actually did something with it. What are you guys doing with it? So drop a question in the chat for our guest panel today, and I'm so grateful for their being here. I appreciate the compliments from the audience. But guys, what's one of your top mindset struggles these days? Maybe Nate, you got one?
Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a big one for, I think, a lot of us who are on social media a good bit. I don't know if you guys ever get caught in the loop of what other people are doing, right? You start seeing some of the influencers, you start seeing some of the people who have got it figured out. Like Cam Haynes is somebody I look up to. He's got his bow hunting, right? He's got his running. He's got his world records that he's done in running and different things. And he's always bringing these people on. And sometimes you look at your life and you're like, man, what am I doing? And guys, for me, I can get caught in that comparison loop where you see what somebody's doing, then you're mad that you're not doing enough. Then you're mad at yourself that you're mad, right? You're upset at yourself for being upset. And it's this terrible cycle loop of frustration where you just begin to compare and then get frustrated and then mad at yourself. And Dr. Heath, you said it very well. What can I do today for myself with my time that I can be my best self? I am not Cam Haynes. I am not David Goggins. I am not Dr. Heath. I am not Waylon. I am Nate Norman. And God put me in this place, in this time, in this season to impact my circles. So I have to really watch myself on social media that I don't just get caught in this comparison game, right? I'm running my race at my pace for my price. And if I start looking at that next runner in the lane next to me, my stride is going to falter and my finish line is going to change because now I'm basing my pace off of their pace. That's not what I'm meant to do. Run your race at your pace for your prize. And that's something I have to remind myself of daily. This is my battle, my fight that God placed me here for a reason. You mentioned the parable of the talents, and I'm reminded of Queen Esther, right? That God put her in that position, in that place in time in history for such a time as this. That's us, guys. We're here for the reason that we're here, for a purpose, for a mission. And when we put somebody else's goals and accomplishments on our race, you're no longer running for you. You're running for them. You're running for accolades. You're running for prizes. That's not how it's meant to be. You're going to get burnt out and you're going to get frustrated, and longevity will evade you if you're running for somebody else's goals. So that's my biggest struggle sometimes, is reminding myself why I'm running, where I'm running, and to what end.
Man, I love that. So I put it right up on the screen. Run your race at your pace for your prize. You guys heard it here from the great Nate Norman. Hey, Nate, thank you so very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, a great mindset hack right there. And there's a reason why you can't run my race or Nate's race or Waylon's race or David Goggins' race or Jocko Willink's race or anybody else's race, is you're not in their shoes, but they're not in yours. If you drop those amazing people into your shoes, they could not run your race as well as you can run your race. In my business in cognitive psychology, I call that fairy tailing. I call that fairy tailing. Charlie Rich, you guys can Google Charlie Rich. He was known as the Silver Fox. I used to listen to him on an 8-track tape player in my dad's GMC dually, double cab GMC dually with an 8-track player. It was top tech at the time. The cassette was like the size of a small book, the 8-track. And he would sing, "'Cause no one knows what goes on behind closed doors." Well, the Silver Fox, he was talking about something different there than what I'm talking about. He was talking about some naughty stuff in the bedroom. But what I'm talking about is fairy tailing about someone else's life. And so when you're spending energy on that, when you're focusing on that thing over there is a distraction. Your job is to focus on this. And this is your life. Hey there, Ryan. Thank you for joining us. Good morning, fellas. Good morning, Ryan. You guys, again, drop some questions in the chat if you have them. But here's a good question from Yuri-san. It looks like maybe a question. Why am I running? Where am I running? And to what end? Love it. And yeah. Thank you for quoting that, Yuri-san. I appreciate that. Yuri-san comes to a lot of my spaces. I do a midday mindset space on X every day, 12 o'clock EPT. That's Elvis Presley time. That is Memphis, Tennessee time, U.S. Well, Waylon, what's one of your biggest mindset struggles and hacks that you have today?
I want to say hi to Ryan. Thanks for coming over, my friend. I was posting on Facebook, like, come say hi, guys. What's up? So yeah, I agree a lot with Nate. One of my issues is I grew up with video games, guys, in the 80s. The video games. What's one thing about video games? When you run through a level and you're like, you missed this thing and that, I missed that coin, I missed this, a thing. You can just start over and train. Let me start it over from the beginning and stack up all the good stuff and do everything just right. But you can't do that in life, and so regretting. So what? To your point, Nate, you're like, well, I get upset that I'm not doing enough. My thing is that I get upset that you lost that time, right? And so yes, I struggle with procrastination because I think about what I didn't get done, but I also have to let myself do things at my own pace, and that was important to me as I became more independent doing my own thing. So let me back up a second. I'm a 100% disabled veteran. I did not start out that way. It took me 10 years to decide to even go down that route, and it was a long struggle because you feel like you're waiting for compensation to be a whole person again, and then it took forever, and it took longer than it normally does, and all that. But since then, now I'm able to do my own thing, which I can actually. Veterans can work. I could go and work at a company if I wanted to. But I decided to invest this time in like a skill, a knowledge that can, take me farther than just a job that has a paycheck. And so now that I can do that, I realize that I kind of, yeah, procrastination sometimes, but a lot of times it's just letting my mind kind of get to that thing when it gets to that thing versus forcing it. And I know that can be kind of silly to some people. There's people out there who are just that gold personality where they're nonstop go go go, and I can get into that groove, but I have to be in that mindset, I guess, not to keep using that word, but yeah, it's an interesting feeling to find out how you are when nobody's around telling you what to do. When there's no clock in, there's no time to get started. It's an interesting thing, man. It's not everybody I think could handle that. Like, oh, I just want to retire and do nothing. Well, we already know, like you said earlier, Dr. Heath, like keeping yourself um, gainfully employed, even though it's not at a company, like doing something. They found what is it, a tribe of people? I feel like it's, forget the name of the tribe, but I think it's one of those tribes that very rarely talks to any outside man, and the people there live past 80 to 90 years old. And they did this research on the people there, and they found out it's because they never stop working. The people, they're the guy that's 90 years old, he's doing something like weaving a basket. I forget what they said, and he says, no, if I don't do it, no one else will. Like I have to get the work done. And these people live longer because they have purpose. So one of the things that I remind myself when I get down thinking, oh, I didn't get this done, I could have done more. I remind myself of my goal at the end, which I think it's very important to have short-term goals, but also deeper. People say long-term goals, but I like to think of them as deeper goals, like something that that's always going to be there, no matter how many small goals you reach. And so I guess one last thing is that pouring myself into those goals versus trying to get something more for myself was a way more fulfilling. It brings this sort of ease to your life. You're like, oh, I already know what I'm being put towards, and I actually do get a little spiritual with it. I actually got a very strong feeling, and I'm pretty sure that I've been put on this path, like by God, a calling that's bigger than myself. That
Absolutely.
I don't even feel like I came up with the idea. I feel like I'm just driving the ship, and it's like, well, could you spend your whole life trying to get more accolades for yourself? Yes. And that's another struggle, is that doing these live streams, making a show, being a personality, there's a struggle between trying to be humble and also trying to promote yourself and be out there and try to say, look at me, look how good I am, even though you're not, I may not be anybody yet. So that's a huge struggle, trying to, pretend that you're confident, even though I have a lot of work to do, and that's a daily thing. But I'll yield there. There's so many things.
Waylon, I love it. I love it. And as we learn, we grow. As we grow, we learn. That's actually their account name on YouTube. Said
Oh,
self motivation is not always easy. Absolutely, absolutely. Let me try to alleviate you guys of a common misunderstanding about motivation. Motivation is not a feeling. If I wait to do something until I have some fuzzy wuzzy feeling, I would never do most things that I do. I don't have a fuzzy wuzzy to get out of bed at the time that I get out of bed. It's just the time I get out of bed. And there's all sorts of neural networks that I won't bore you guys with. One of which is called the locus ceruleus, but you'll come on my midday mindset, learn more about that stuff. That is there to kind of help us develop a pattern in life. And so, it's really what you do is what you become. What you become is what you do. It really is kind of circular like that. And so, but a lot of people think that they'll say I'm not motivated. Well, what they're really saying is I don't have a fuzzy wuzzy related to the thing I'm talking about doing. Well, who gives a crap about that? I don't. I do things because there's meaning to do those things. Who
right.
who gets a fuzzy wuzz about digging up a septic tank? But if the septic tank needs to be dug up, it's muddy, messy, it stinks. Then it's just got to be done. But here's what I was saying on Midday Mindset and in the Mindset Masterclass is your feet will always follow your values. Always, always, always your feet will follow your values. So you might say, I want to get up at a certain time, but what you're going to do is what you find the most value in doing. If you find more value staying in bed, then that's what you're going to do. You may say, I want to be fit, but if you find more value in sitting and eating tater chips all day long, then that's what you're going to do. You're not going to be fit, not because you don't have motivation, but because you don't have your values consistent with what you say, you know. And so
Hmm.
do what you do because there is high value in it. And we spend most of our life doing such low value things. And back to what Waylon was talking about, you know, we have a choice. Let's just say that you've been given a clock of life. Are you just going to sit around and let the clock run out? A lot of people are think that they're NBA players at the end of a winning game, and all you got to do is sit there and let the clock run out. Listen, that clock could have been given to somebody else that made better use of it. And so that's what I'm here to do. I'm not here to run the clock out. I had this discussion with my wife the other day. I could just be sitting around playing video games. I could be sitting around just vegging out on, you know, Netflix movies or something. But instead of doing that, like Waylon, like Nate, I try to create things which I think will boost others and I think will lift others up. Why? Because what's the meaning there? I think that's what I'm here to do. Doing anything else is just serving myself. And if the only thing I do in life is serve myself, then I will get to the end of it and see and believe that my life has been a waste. And so it doesn't have to be that way. Don't run the clock out. Find something to do. The old ancient scripture says, whatever your hand finds to do it how? Do it with all your life, with all your might. Whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might. Don't wait on a feeling. So neurologically, here's how this works. First, we find meaning. Meaning promotes behavior. Behavior over time becomes discipline. Think of discipline like a rut down my driveway. So a reason to do a thing, and then you do a thing, and then you do it over and over and over and over again. It becomes a rut like your driveway. But you know what? That rut can be in an unhealthy direction. You got to make sure your brain doesn't really care if it's healthy or unhealthy. You can dig a rut toward eating Fritos every day. It's not a healthy direction. And here's the magic sauce, the discipline turns into habit where guess what? You don't even have to think about it. I set my alarm for 4:30 this morning. I always get up before my alarm goes off. Why? Because my brain has engineered roadways, ruts, that take care of that stuff on its own. And so think about some of that stuff, guys. Well, I want to go back to you guys. Let's see. We have some thoughts here. Lady Wing said to Waylon, what you just said was very powerful. She calls it the life's way. Yeah, that is, you know, we get to choose our way of life. You know, I like to say we first. I've got that over. Look, Lady Wings is now Waylon. Look at that right there. So we first engineer our thoughts, and our thoughts engineer our life. Well, guys, we got about 15 minutes. So if you want to put some things in the chat, go ahead and drop them in the chat. We've got a little over 120 people here listening to us. I really appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much. Do us a favor, share out the space to your friends. If you're on X, you
Yeah.
can do a quote repost or just a repost. By the way, a quote repost, a QRP, a quirp, do a QRP on X, or you can share it out to your friends on Facebook, on YouTube. You can like it and comment. Put your comments on YouTube. I'll answer those. If you have a question, you're welcome to send me a message. But tell us, I meant to ask Nate about, and Waylon both, about the mindfulness aspect of what you guys do. Because I think that you can do mindfulness with anything. I do mindfulness making my morning coffee. I do mindfulness making or brushing my teeth in the morning. So much misunderstanding about mindfulness, but I can think of nothing more mindful than pulling that bowstring back focusing on your breathing. It just seems very meditative, Nate. What do you think?
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to say just when you were talking about feelings, there's so many people that wait for that feeling, wait for that motivation. And listen, there will never be a convenient time to do a hard thing. It will always be inconvenient to do difficult things. Always, right? And so if you can bypass that feeling, you're going to win every single time. If you can bypass the feeling, you're going to win. So just to piggyback off of that, I love what you said. That's fantastic. Don't wait for it to feel good. Marriage is not a feeling. Faith is not a feeling. Motivation is not a feeling. Physical fitness is not a feeling. Discipline is not a feeling. Nothing in our life is attached to feelings. Don't feed it. If you feed it, it'll grow. Love it. So when you talk about mindfulness, Dr. Heath, it's one of the things I do every day is I journal gratitude, right? I open up a book and I just zero in on all the blessings that I have, all the goodness every single day. It can be a single line, it could be a paragraph, but dude, I don't want to be frustrated that I'm sitting in traffic. I want to be grateful I have a car. I don't want to be mad that I have a stupid boss. I want to be grateful I have a job. I don't want to be mad that the air conditioner is broke. I want to be thankful I have a house, and I want to zero in on the gratitude and fix my mind on the positive, man. I want to be a positive force for life, right? Just reclaiming that mindset. That's one of the things I do for mindfulness. I get in cold water every single day, slow my breath down, do some Wim Hof, breathe in, breathe out, slow it down, get my heart rate as low as it can go, and then jump into that cold water and submerge or let the shower hit me, whatever situation I'm in, and just be in that moment. Feel the pain or feel the resistance or feel your heart rate spike and try to calm it back down. And then in that process, I'm a man of faith. So sometimes I just might sit and pray. I might go for a walk and just adjust my mind. And you guys know this as well as anybody else out there. There's so many things vying for my attention, right? They want me to look at it. Look at this problem. Look at the fires in California. Look at this pandemic, the government, the whatever. And I have to zero my mind in on what's important and become present in my world. And I have so many tricks for that, but you have to do it on a regular basis or your mind will just run amok. I don't know about you guys, but my mind will just go after a
Oh yeah.
rabbit on any given day.
Without a doubt, while you were talking, it really dawned on me that one of the biggest reasons why people say I don't have anything to be grateful for is you never stop to pay attention to what you have to be grateful for. So the brain will engineer its radar of awareness based on where you direct your awareness. And so, for instance, when I broke my toe, which I've done several times because I guess I'm kind of klutzy sometimes, I could sit around a moan and groan and focus on it, or say, "Oh well, look at that, nothing to be done now." Look, if you take your broken toe to the ER, and unless there's bone sticking out, they're going to say, "Hey man, you got a broke toe. You should be more careful," and charge you $30 for an aspirin or naproxen and send you home. There's nothing more to be done about that except for marvel in the gratitude that your body has the ability to heal a broken toe. And so the thing is, you have nothing to be grateful for because of what's called inattentional blindness. Inattentional blindness. Things that we choose, our brains choose not to attend to, we get worse at noticing. And so when you do what Nate did and start putting it on your calendar, put it as part of your daily routine, I'm going to spend this 180 seconds. Now that's 3 minutes. This 180 seconds just being aware of what I have to be grateful for. As I'm sitting here saying that, my mind goes to my breath. Ask anybody with emphysema, anybody that suffers from SOB, and that's not the person that you live with, by the way, that shortness of breath. Excuse me, guys. But when you don't have it, you tend to become grateful for it. And so find just little things, micro gratitude. Have you focused on your MGs for the day? Your micro gratitude, your MGs for the day. And so that's really a superpower. You can. It's like Nate said. It's so easy in our world today to awfulize and really it's almost like everybody has negativity bias on steroids. I meet people, they are just experts. I mean, it marvels even me. I'm just blown away at how good some people are at being negative. And I think, wow, man, I don't know that I could pick out all that negative stuff like you do. You're really good at it. And it's because they work at it. Whatever you work at, you get better at, you know. So how do you kind of stay in and I hate to say positive mindset, because see, let me clarify. I'm actually not even talking about a positive mindset. I'm talking about an accurate, realistic mindset. Accurate, realistic mindset. The best way to arm your mindset, ARM, is with an accurate, realistic mindset. So go arm your mindset today with accurate, realistic mindset. But how do you stay accurate and realistic with your mindset and kind of, direct your focus, Waylon?
So first, I want to ask future. What is LOL Waylon tries to be? I don't know what what that was about.
I don't know.
I
I thought
try a
you were
lot of
good
things.
buddies or something.
I don't know who that is, but I
Oh,
try to
okay.
be a lot of things. But I tell you, when earlier you were talking about, actually, I don't know, I can't remember specifically what you said, but what I wanted to bring up about it was that we, a lot of people will focus on their shortcomings, like I'm so this, I'm not enough this, and it's easy to do, and I think that's not always a bad thing. We have to think about ourselves, but if you think about what you're doing as a separate thing, you think, is what I'm doing still important? You ask yourself a few questions, like, I don't, whether or not I'm a good person, bad person, I messed up, whatever. Is what I'm doing still worth doing? Is it still important? Has importance? And so you think of it as a separate thing, like, hey, that thing needs done. And when you pour yourself into something, you start to feel, you feel fulfilled. You feel that sense of accomplishment. You, instead of like thinking about accomplishments I want to get done, or goals I want to get done, you just do the thing, and then those smaller goals come, and then you start to feel better about yourself, because you're not focusing on yourself as much anymore. And one of the things, I said, you try to be mindful. I do. I think we all do. I consider myself intellectual and not smart. Intellectual just means you like to use your brain. Doesn't always mean you're using it correctly. It's just someone that likes to think, I think. But one thing I do on the daily basis is that I look at what. Actually, I lost my train of thought there, but yeah, I like to think of what I'm doing as a whole, like what I'm putting myself into. For me, I think, is it important for the whole planet, and it's not everything I do, but if it's something that everybody needs, then there's going to be importance there. Dang it, I can't think of the
I love
other.
that, Waylon. I just want to interject real quick, because, and I appreciate you saying that, because one of the things that I do is I try to ask myself a couple of questions. Is what I'm doing right now the most meaningful thing I can be doing? Is what I'm doing right now the most meaningful thing, high payoff thing? And that's not always making money. I say payoff. This morning I put away the dishes. It's what I do every morning. I sort the silverware. It's a task segmentation exercise that's good for my noggin. Um, it enhances procedural memory, a type of memory. And so, as I said on my midday mindset, I'll put away the really big spoons, the serving spoons, the tablespoons, the little forks, the big forks, the tiny forks, the coffee, tiny spoons, the coffee spoons, as I call them. I put things away because it is in simplicity that some of the greatest things in life for your brain really, really happen. Future Classic Z says, I clean the, yeah, man, I'm right there cleaning dishes with you. I had my dishes put away. I had them put away this morning by 4:30, so I'm pretty quick. But I do that for a number of reasons. But I ask myself, is this the most important thing I can be doing right now? The other thing is, can I optimize it? Whatever I'm doing, I did my tour duty through the VA Medical Center, John J. Pershing, and I would have guys come in and say the whole slow is smooth, smooth is fast kind of thing. And so I'm asking myself, putting away the dishes, making the coffee, making the bed, is there a way to optimize this workflow of putting away dishes, optimize this workflow of making the bed, of doing what I did this morning, this whole setup right here that you guys can't see. I got just a little bit better at it this morning, and this is, I think, our only our second or third Monday Mindset Mojo, and so I appreciate all you guys being here. But no, when you're talking about that way, and that's what came to mind is, it doesn't have to be really, really big, mountain moving things in life. It's those mustard seed things,
Routine too.
Go ahead. Yeah, say that again.
Routine. I mean,
Yeah.
just giving yourself a routine. And
Oh
like for
my.
me, since I don't have to go work, I had to create a routine, and that's one reason I do a show 5 nights a week, because it's helps me get my thoughts in order. It actually pushes me to do the things in real life in order to make the content, and so like it's a circular kind of motivation there.
One of the best things you can do, guys, for your brain long term is exercises that increase verbal fluency. One of the things that I test when I'm doing cognitive assessments for dementia Alzheimer's is verbal fluency. Verbal fluency is also one of the big areas on an IQ test. And so communicating like this, having conversations with people that can make a difference, people that matter to you, people that should matter to you, having conversations around the dinner table with the wife and the kids, do that. There's not enough conversations in our world that are healthy conversations, and because so many people segue to, I'm only going to have a conversation with you to either teach you something, which is normally my opinion, or tell you how you're wrong. You know,
Right.
I mean, it's like I start off this live stream talking about the individual on X that took the time. Thank you very much for taking your time to criticize my AI graphic. Well, I chose to look at that as, well, maybe they're just trying to be helpful. If you can think something about another person, take the positive route. I mean, if you can look at a negative reason for somebody doing something and a positive reason, I mean, unless they're drawing down on you with a bow and arrow or something, then you should just get out of the way. Then take the positive route. But the other thing is, ask yourself, why would I take time to tell this person this? Am I doing it to truly help? That is, am I doing it from a place of good faith? The existential philosophers call that a good faith action. Or am I doing it just to criticize, make fun, or troll? Believe it or not, the world probably doesn't need more trolls. I think we probably have enough. They're usually called politicians, by the way. So do things in good faith. Do things in good faith. Well, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for joining. We do have time for another question or two or comment or two from the audience. We've had 32 comments. That's a comment more than every 2 seconds. So that's pretty good. A comment every 1.85 seconds or whatever. But what's maybe a positive affirmation, a top tip that we can leave our viewers with today, Waylon and Nate? Who wants to go first?
I'll just say the not to toot your horn too much, Dr. Heath, but the Mindset Masterclass is actually a really good tool to help sort of give yourself a framework, at least, to say, oh, as you're reading through it, you're like, oh yeah, that's me. Oh, neat. Oh, that's me there. And you just kind of like start to point out and be more aware. Awareness is like half the battle of ourselves and the world around us. I mean, just being more aware. Going, oh, this is a problem I need to work on, and maybe make a list. If you're a list person.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, everybody's welcome. It's easy peasy, school.com/mindset, school.com/mindset. School is spelled SKOOL. and join the nearly 100 other members over there. It's free, free membership. Hop over there, click the button, enter a few things, and you're good to go. And you can sit back and listen and just read, or better yet, join in the conversation. We're here to learn from each other. I call it crowdsourced wisdom. Crowdsourced wisdom. And I appreciate the crowd of wisdom we've had here today. Nate, what are some parting thoughts from you on how these guys and gals can level up their mindset, level up their life?
Yeah. So all of us sit around this podcast, this conversation, talking about little tips and tricks that have helped us along the way. Thank God for something like this, because 15 years ago, I needed this conversation, right? I needed those little practical steps to help me fight the slump dumpkin that I was becoming, right? And now, fast forward 15 years or 20 years, I feel like it's a duty to give some of these things out and say, hey, you have a duty to fight the slump dumpkin and not become the gray man, to be the best version of yourself. Apply some of these tips that we're talking about today, right? Do one thing today, right? One thing that you can put your hand on and control it, and do that again tomorrow. 1,000 yeses in the same direction is consistency, and that's how you move mountains.
Wow, you guys are just on fire. You are simply amazing. Hey, thank you so much. But what was that word? Don't be a slump dumpling?
Slump dumpkin.
It's my trademark for that lower part of myself that just wants to sit back and be coddled and surround himself by comfort. You got to fight that slump dumpkin and punch him in the throat and put him where he needs to be.
I love that. I love that. I had a patient a long time ago that said to me how her dad was such a hard worker, but she had some laziness in her. She would say, I've got some laziness in me. And I thought, I've got some laziness in me. What do you do about that? What do you got to do about that? And so I thought about that ever since. And I tell myself, instead of catastrophizing and saying, oh, it's going to rob me of an hour of my life. Oh, it's going to be so hard. I mean, it's really the Eeyore syndrome from Winnie the Pooh. Don't be Eeyore. Oh, my goodness. It's just such a horrible thing. Just freaking get up and get something done. Movement begets movement. Movement begets movement. So, yeah, Waylon, go right ahead.
I am kind of Eeyore. I was just going to say one last thing about the Nate, when you had your back broken, you're sitting there writing the book. Basically, that's what I did when I had surgery with the VA, and I was sitting there, laid up for months, and I thought, what can I do with my life, and I came up with a plan, and it wasn't all altruistic. It wasn't like, yeah, I want to help people. I mean, that's part of it. But it was also like, well, what is it that every person on the planet had? Like, what's the biggest demographic? Well, everybody's got to eat. Let me go down that path. But then more recently, I actually have a shoulder injury, and I think it's a tear in the rotator cuff, but it's not bad enough yet that I'm going to have surgery. I have to do a bunch of physical therapy and stuff. And so I'm having those same problems right now where I feel like I'm useless. I can't pick things up. I can't exercise, but then I'm actually pulling myself away from things I can do, like going for a walk, doing more things with legs. And so it's a struggle for me. I'm sleeping extra amounts of time. And I think some people get confused when we think of sleep as a healing thing, and you have people with depression and stuff where you end up sleeping a lot more because you're thinking that you're doing some kind of good by getting some extra sleep, and that's one of my problems. But yeah, I just wanted to say
there's a bit of, I was actually reading some research on that. There's really a bit of a Goldilocks zone. It tends to be between 7 and 9 hours. Too much sleep is actually just as bad in different ways as too little sleep. And so mine runs about 7. 8's okay, but one thing that people make the mistake of doing is, even though the Goldilocks zone is 7 to 9, you're making a mistake by fudging your get up time. Don't fudge your get up time. I will get up at the same time 7 days a week. Let me back up. I will get up at the time I wake up. Given it's not 2 in the morning, I'm not going to get up at 2 in the morning, but so long as it's roughly between, I don't know, 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. My alarm's going to go off at 4:30. typically I'm always awake before then. Um, and to throw you another quick tip here is during a night of rest, your sleep cycle hits three peaks. So there's peak number one, at which time if we woke you up, you would claim you've never been asleep. And then there's a trough, and there's peak two, at which time, if we woke you up, yes, you would claim, I haven't been to sleep yet, but you have. You know why? Why would that happen? Because your brain doesn't encode or store up the memory of having been asleep. We're very poor reporters of how much we slept. And then peak number three. So the best time to get up is not in a trough, but at a peak. That's why, if like this morning, I think I actually woke up maybe a few minutes after 4, went to the bathroom. I just went ahead and got up because if I go back to bed, I'm going to go into a trough. And then if my alarm goes off, which it would, I'll be headed down to the valley and I'll be groggy and tired and think, oh my goodness, I'm so tired, which is another thing I don't do. I don't say, oh my goodness, I'm so tired. I'm speaking life to myself, let's go. And I'm really hopping around here like I'm running my own SpaceX agency or something. And so move with purpose through your day, move with purpose into your day, and stop talking yourself into all this crappy, say that again, Nate, dumpling.
The slump dumpling.
Into the slump dumpling mindset. The slump dumpling mindset. That's amazing. I love that. So move with your day, move into your day with purpose, and your purpose determines your mindset. I want to thank you guys for being here. Y'all are absolutely wonderful. We got to do this again sometime. Y'all are always welcome back. If you ever have a spare Monday morning, man, say the word. I'll make a new frame. The more, the merrier. The invitation's always open. And you guys in the audience, we really, really appreciate you. You are why we do this. You are helping us make this more meaningful. We hope that you got some great takeaways. Go out there and make it the kind of day that it was meant to be. And we'll catch you. We do this every Monday, by the way. So Monday morning, usually at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. Sometimes it'll be at 8. But I try to work that around what works best for all the guests and everybody. And hop over to Mindset Masterclass, school.com, spelled SKOOL, school.com/mindset, free membership. Hope to see you there. Have a good afternoon. Bye-bye now.
Bye, everybody.